Okay, so let's move on to the last boss here for our little coach's corner. There's a couple of videos for this one. Again, we're going to go through the... let's see. There might be a heroic one here. So I don't think guilds killed Eonar because it was super massively overtuned. I'm going to go through two videos here. One is of a tank perspective. The other one will be of Fad Boss's video, which, again, does all this work, and we're just sort of piggybacking off of what they do here. So Eonar. Eonar is a really cool boss. This one's actually probably one of the ones I'm most excited about as a huge fan of tower defense, and I've loved tower defense for years. This is pretty much the exact same thing. You are doing a tower defense boss. So Eonar is not a boss. Essentially, you're protecting Eonar. You're protecting your base from these swarms and swarms of minions that are coming out. They're going to try to go down there, DPS Eonar, and kill her. Your goal is to protect her and deal with all the little adds that spawn. So with Eonar here, let me get my notes. Where are you? Eonar notes. All right, so this is, okay, so for those of you, had a lot of single target encounters, this is mostly an AoE encounter. You want to go balls to the wall, AoE wherever possible. You have a number, so this is how you start it. We will defend you Life-Binder, you start the encounter, and there's a couple ways to get around. The first one is what this guy just did. He basically uses his extra action button, flies you up in the air like Jikun or on Renferal, and you glide over to safety. The entire raid starts off by this platform because it is a set order from where the ads spawn. Basically, again, there's no actual boss. You're defending multiple lanes. For the first section to talk about, there's really just a number of different small ads here. There's uses extra action and he flies over. So there's these Fel Guards, which are, fairly low HP, AoEing them down. They're mostly ignoring everything you're doing, right? There's no actual real tanking of them, just AoEing the crap down. One of the other abilities here, we'll go through different abilities as they happen here, but essentially, the more ads you kill, the more energy Eonar gets. The more energy Eonar gets, when she gets 100, she sets out a massive blast. The Paraxis, you can see on the right side of the screen there, the Paraxis has 75% HP. You deal with 4 charges, so you get her to 100 energy 4 times, and she kills the boss for you, and then eventually she gives you loot. So again, killing the ads will give you more energy. You can see the energy pop up here as they kill the ads. So there are also little mini bosses that spawn throughout the encounter. There's also different lanes, so you have to know which lanes go next, and we'll show you on a couple spreadsheets. That's right, you face Paraxis. So the Fel Guards, essentially they just charge down towards Eonar. They don't do anything, they ignore you. You want to DPS them down as much as possible, right? AoE them down, chain lightnings. The great thing about all these small lads, whether it be the Fel Guards or the Felhounds or whatever, all these little ads here. So there's the Fel Guards, there's Felhounds, Fel Lords, and Bats. Fel Guards, least amount of HP, super easy to deal with. Felhounds, a little bit more. And then there's Fel Lords that are basically like big ass enemies that have more HP. And then there's Bats, which are only, they fly down and they're a separate enemy themselves. So small ads, CC them, slow them, trap them, stun them, knock them back, whatever you can do to slow them, do it. So those of you that choose talents to slow, typhoons, knockbacks, please use them here as well. So you can see here, lots of dots. Now, a couple of the little mini bosses here. You can see the Obfuscator, right? Obfuscate means to hide, essentially, right? What it does is any enemies that are nearby, he shrouds them so they're not targetable. So you can actually AoE them through, blade storms or fire patches in the ground, whatever, but you can't actually target them. So you'll want to really focus this guy first, pull him away from wherever possible. You can see your Fel Guards do the least amount of HP. They're gonna die pretty quickly. So as they go through the different sections here, we'll talk about it as well. There's the Fel Lords spawning. There's also constant damage coming out from the Praxis itself, right? So constant fire damage coming down. It sort of requires you to heal, otherwise the tanks or the healers would be actually bored. And then there's these big green circles. See the green circle here? The green circles will do lots of damage to everybody that's nearby. It's the same kind of mechanic. My only gripe about this one is that it's not visible enough. There's so many really visible visible mechanics on Antorus. This one, not so much. What most players want to do is run out to the outside lane so you're not hitting everybody else, right? Like if you have it, run to the edges of one of these platforms. And those are the bats that are spawning as well, which just simply do their own path and fly down. So let's go through some of the bosses here. Okay, so one of the first mini bosses is the Purifiers. And Purifiers basically are like a little paladin running around cleansing their friends of CCs. So if you stun things, if you slow them, this Purifier runs around with his aura, clearing their CCs, making them run fast again. Make sure you really prioritize these mini bosses. Purifier, blow it up. Let your shamans, your AoE guys, take care of everything else, but you need to blow up those mini bosses. Purifier, again, he'll cleanse any CCs nearby. And he does, again, a fell swipe. You do want to tank him a little bit further away. You can see the Purifier down below there. He's got a pretty massive frontal cleave, so as a tank, please do not tank this in front of your raid or on top of these adds because you have your melee standing here. This is really important. I'm going to repeat this one more time. If you're a tank, do not tank Purifiers on the Fel Guards. Number one, it's going to remove the CCs. Number two, the cleave is going to murder your raid. So face it again here. You can see what this guy's doing. Face it away from your raid. You can see the bear tanking it away. And the frontal cleave is away. Kill it really quickly. The other one is the Obfuscator here. This one's a bit of a pain in the ass as well. You can see here it cloaks all the nearby enemies. Different ways to deal with it. Let it run, right? Let it run and just murder it. Then let the other ones catch up or slow them, right? As it's going to go a little bbit faster than everybody else, focus down. Again, look, everybody's chasing it down. Can't really tank it as much as possible. It's going to cloak the enemy so you can't kill them, right? So you want to focus it down as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you'll have a huge pain in the ass coming your way. And then the last boss here is the Destructor. We'll talk about it here in a second. There's the Obfuscator going down. So essentially the Destructor is the third mini-boss for this. He basically does artillery strikes, right? Artillery strikes on the ground, does lots of raid-wide damage, and also needs to be tanked facing away from your raid. So artillery mode, obviously when he's not attacked, then he's going to do massive damage to Eonar with his missiles. That's why you need to tank him, so he's not killing our friend Eonar. The artillery strike is interruptible, so please use interrupts, right? That's really one big focus through much of Antorus. Interrupt everything. If you can't interrupt, that's right, fine. Try anyway. It'll get you in a good habit of interrupting things. So when this guy comes out, he sort of wobbles around for a few seconds. You burn him the crap up as quickly as possible. The other stuff will get cleaved, CC'd, but these mini bosses are a huge, huge priority for you guys. Blow them up as wherever possible. You can see here, Destructor, right? You get a couple of these guys throughout the entire encounter. It's not just one. They spawn throughout the entire fight, in addition to the waves. Again, those are the little platforms, how you get between the different positions. You can see here and that was a pretty efficient use of the little lips, right? The little slipstreams that take you across, like Throne of Four Winds, for those of you that do mount runs. And then you use the extraction button. So we're going to go through, I think, the Praxis abilities next here. Lots of healing. So Praxis Artillery, you can just see coming down constantly. It is just constant damage. Small amounts of damage, not a big deal. Again, Druids should be great here, keeping people hotted up. The other ability is that Rain of Fel. You see green circles. Again, really hard to see, right? Or at least sort of hard to see. And if your players are standing with the rest of the raid, they're going to kill them. Make sure these guys run off to the side. Otherwise, that happens. Really important to not be stacked together. You can see here now they finally decide to run off to the side, and they don't overlap. And the other ability here will be the Spear coming out in a second. You can see here what they decided to do. Right? Run them to the side. The rest of your raid is in the middle. The other ability is the Spear of Doom. You've seen this ability plenty of times on Shadow Lord Iskar. You've seen it on however many bosses. It's going to target a player, right? It's going to, charge up and start throwing lines of fire down. You control where these lines of fire go. Really important, if the spear is on you, that you spawn or you cause it to go by the side, not near the middle, because the adds go through the middle, and anytime the adds go through this green fire stuff, they get buffed, right? You don't want to buff the adds. You can see the person kiting it, again, along the wall wherever possible, not through the middle. So the adds are going to get buffed a little bit there, but not a ton. There's a Beam of Fel. You can see they're on the right side there, so the adds are going to go through, really buffing them. You don't want to go through it or cause them to go through it wherever possible. All right, speeds them up, damage, all that fun stuff. And here again, the Obfuscator, you want to burn it down quickly, have your quick DPS chase it down, then deal with the CCs. So you want to have different CC teams. Now, the important thing with this fight is that there is multiple platforms. So you can see here there is a lower one, that is a lower platform there. You're going to have a middle platform, your regular one, and a top platform. The order that which it goes here, let me pull up my own little notes, is it goes middle platform first, so red, then bottom, then 2 waves of top, and then 2 waves of bottom, and then wave 5 is multiple waves of top and back and forth, right? So it's going to alternate that way. I can give you guys the full sort of explanation later on. And you're dealing with bats as well. So you'll have destroyers coming out, you'll have the Fel Guards, Fel Hounds, Fel Lords. It does vary, but your entire raid will generally have to shift from one position to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. That being said, there'll be times where they spawn from opposite ends, right? You'll have a top spawn or a mid spawn or whatever. You'll have to split your raid appropriately as well. We'll see how the tuning goes on Heroic, because, I mean, I don't think many guilds actually killed this. And again, we'll see what happens. And you can see the bats. The bats sort of do their own little path here. I will share with you guys my own little video here. This is from our own strats here. 1 second. So from our own little thing, you can see here the position at which they go on the right side, right? The map, right? They're going down. The top section is the yellow. The bottom is the blue one going down there. In the middle is the green one, which way they go. And the air do their own little swirl around and go down. These are our timers and positioning as to when they spawn, as well as which tank ads and which ads are spawning during those waves based off that PTR testing. All right, you can see the little lips here, so use those to jump between the little slipstreams. There, and then you can use the extra action button F1 to fly and glide, and use it a second time to glide over to the next platform. So back and forth, your entire raid will have to move. Again, mobility, druid's great, hots are awesome to really deal with a lot of the damage that is going out through the entire encounter. Typically, you want to stay together as a group, right? You know, groups together rather than doing your own thing. Again, it's quite a lot of damage going out through the healers. You can see here they're having 5 healers, which is what's going to be recommended for a lot of this progression going into it. So, again here, and yeah, they killed Destructor. Dealing with the next phase. Again, this guy wobbles around. But that's pretty much it, right? You're dealing with the different ads, phases. This one will be a bit of a tougher one for most guilds because it's a lot of new things, or people aren't used to the mass amounts of movement. People got to get used to dealing with the mini bosses, again, tanking them, you know, away from everybody else, where to run, and using those little slipstreams to go back and forth between the little areas. Again, we know like the average heroic raider may have some difficulty here with these abilities. So, where is it going to help? I mean, speed boosts again, stampedes are all that's going to help. Realistically, you'll be fine if your DPS is on point to deal with these ads, because they are coming out at set timers, right? They're coming out at set timers. The first wave 1 at the pull, wave 2 at the bottom, so the opposite side 30 seconds in. Next one comes out at 110. Next one comes out at 125, then 215. So you'll have about 30-40 seconds to deal with every single wave. You can see here, both the Purifier and the Obfuscator have spawned, right? So the Obfuscator is the one that shrouds the enemies. So that one just goes down, blow it up as quickly as possible. The Purifier, you want to tank away from the other enemies, right? You want to tank them away from your group, not like this in the middle of the raid, because people are going to get cleaved and get destroyed. Plus, he's cleansing the other players or the other enemies of their CCs. But your priority should be the Obfuscator as quickly as possible when 2 are spawning. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to this boss a lot. It should be a fun one. And of course, there's the bats. DPS the bats, dot them up, you know, kill them as much as possible. I mean, you're not going to really go through this encounter without Eonar taking damage, partly because of these bats. I can't recall if they were CCable or anything at all. I'm sure the chat can correct me there. You can see them come down here slowly, doing their own little swirl. Eventually, they will DPS Eonar as well. But yeah, dot them up wherever possible. You know, Boomkins, Shadow Priests, Hunters, please unload on them as they come down, right? They do their own little path. You'll all be able to hit them with some melee attacks. Realistically, we're on some of those bottom platforms. But they should also be a fairly high priority target because your melee can't attack them. And you can see at this point, the raid is split. Yes, some of them are dead. But obviously, if you can't attack with bats, well, you're attacking something else, right? There should always be something for you to attack as a player. Will this be a Gorfing 2.0? remains to be seen. I mean, I think it'd be a fairly tough encounter for a lot of guilds. You'll see, I think, many guilds do this encounter 4th or 5th, just in terms of sheer difficulty and of what's going on. Given that, again, there hasn't been a lot of guilds PTR testing these things, and these encounters are new and exciting and fun. I mean, I know my guild is super excited for a lot of these ones. We're down to Sargeras, and you know, we're excited for new things in general. So this should be fun. And again, here, right, this is what happens. So you've got the 2 obfuscators here. The other things are, you know, are shrouded, so they can't be attacked. They're just murdering Eonar. Eonar is going to die here. You can see her HP on the top side there. She has what? A few billion HP, but she dies pretty quickly. Like, look how many ads are there. 7 ads total. She's going to get murdered, plus the bats and everything else. So, again, your goal is to protect Eonar, get that fat loot, use slipstreams, you know, communicate. You're going to have to see, you know, which platforms actually spawn, if they change anything. Again, you know, our own little spreadsheets here, you know, show the order, as well as a tank ads, all that stuff, and which ones are spawning, right? So wave 1 middle, so the green ones are going all the way down. Then we'll deal with a wave from the bottom, which will be Destroyer and 6 Fellhounds. We'll see how tuning is. Apparently it was really overtuned on PTR. But in terms of groups, you know, we do have, you know, some groups set up in terms of healers arranged, whatever. And healer cooldowns as well. So it should be a fun one. Looking forward to it. You know, it'll be something different. I'm, again, a huge fan of tower defense. It should be a fairly fun encounter. Can I link that spreadsheet? No, I can't. Maybe eventually once my officers and I talk about it. But yeah. Is she still clear all the ads when she gets 100 energy? Yeah, so what she does is, again, for those of you joining us late, once you kill enough ads, they give her energy. You can see the little bar there next to her HP on the right side, that bar to the left. That is her energy. Once it fills to 100, she does a massive raid-wide blast, clears up any small ads, and does damage to the Praxis, the big ship flying around. Hopefully in a second here. Yeah, you can see it gave her some energy. She still hasn't killed it all. She's not going to cast it yet. Hopefully soon. They're waiting for, look, they're waiting for the next ad wave to spawn, right? So they're doing pretty decently. And you can see here, at this point, they have split their raid in half because the ads are also spawning from the opposite side. No, I think if you leave the bats, to answer your question, if you leave the bats alone, they will eventually kill her. Right? She has, what, 1.7 billion HP. They're going to do some pretty substantial damage to her. So I would definitely not leave the bats alone. So here, the other group has killed enough ads. Eonar unleashes her life force, so she's going to cast her ability. And there you go. Casting there. So she cleared up any ads. Now new ads have spawned. You can see Praxis has dropped down to 75% HP. Do that 4 rounds, and yeah. Is there going to be a good time for it to Bloodlust or when the big boss comes out? It depends on which wave. Based off the timings that I have here, likely we're going to Heroism. When do we have Heroism actually set up for our guild? I'm not sure. We know Heroism is set up for our guild. It'll likely be around the... trying to think here. The 2 or 3 minute marker, based off how many ads are spawning. Yeah, 215, 240. 215, 240 potentially. That's when it gets a little bit trickier. And then a 3-4 minute marker, that's when you also may want to use Heroism for it. So, yeah, bats also give her energy when you kill them, which is, you want to kill everything, right? You never want to have anything reach her. Again, Purifier and Obfuscator, so you're dealing with 2 different, the mini-bosses. Obfuscator first, Purifier, keep it away from the rest of your group, and murder it slowly. So again, group is split here. You're dealing with multiple waves at the same time. Yeah, they don't have a timer actually running on this one. But it should be a fun one. I mean, it should be fun. You know, I like it. It should be a great encounter. Any other questions about this one? Yeah, here it depends on, you know, the tuning and the side which you're doing. There's going to be a lot of flex here, and, you know, let the really progressed guilds figure those things out, and then as we start killing these bosses, I'll release a new Coach's Corner with all those things. Okay, so if no other questions, we're going to wind down here for this Coach's Corner. We are going to give you guys the intro, outro one more time. Thank you guys for watching. So tomorrow we're going to be going through the next bunch of bosses. We're going to go start off with Eonar, King Garath, Varamathras, one of my favorites here, Covenant Shivar, and potentially these last 2 bosses, depending on how much time we have. But yeah, thank you guys for watching our Coach's Corner. We are going to highlight all of this. Again, you can watch it all on YouTube or on Twitch. But thank you guys for watching. Have a good night, and as always, be excellent to each other. Good night. Cool. That's good. That was good Coach's Corner. I'm glad to be doing these again. Plan on them to come